you see a lot of sort of dispatch box gesturing, saying that we're going to solve it. I think Michael said that at the start. And once the national media campaign moves off, that hostile environment is very much still there. And I think unless we get some of the policies that Diane talked about, we won't see the unravelling of that hostile environment. On free school meals, I was disgusted to get the email from Nelma to find out that the rates were so high in Hackney, and I'm very keen to explore how we can meet that need locally. And I'm very concerned, as Diane said, about the different cohorts. So you've got the Windrush generation, but if this hostile environment isn't dismantled, it will affect EU migrants as they start to lose status, and the impact on rough sleepers, where effectively, if you're in work as an EU migrant, you're allowed to be here, but the second you lose work, you should be going straight back to your country of origin. So people in the construction industry that fall sick or injured at work, their whole status and life can unravel incredibly quickly, and we'll see the results of that locally. So that's why we also are campaigning on EU citizens. We want to make sure that the lessons of Windrush and the kind of quality work that is embedded in Hackney is front and centre of our work in education. So Hackney Museum has a deep archive that it teaches Hackney school children, but we're looking at funding about how we can take that more nationally and create a permanent digital archive here in the borough for Windrush, and why that message is so important. You'll see more of that rolling out during Black History Month, and we're trying to get government to listen to the arguments about that. I was elected exactly 2 years ago, and I think you'd have to go back to the 80s and 90s, I think, to see Labour manifestos in Hackney talking about these issues. Very clear commitments around Syrian refugee families, and in the new manifesto, commitments to Dubs. We were one of those councils that stepped forward to say, yes, there are huge pressures on fostering, yes, there are huge pressures on children's social care, but we can do our bit and we can take those children from Calais. They went to the dispatch box in Parliament and said local government hadn't come forward and hadn't offered that support. That was a barefaced lie. Lambeth, Hackney, Brent, Haringey, other boroughs have come forward, even in the midst of some of the deepest challenges in children's social care, and said we can take those spaces. And we continue to make that offer available to government when it comes to the resettling of any refugees. We have a new commitment around ESOL that I think is really important. So making sure that when people have been at that dreadful period where they've not been able to access support and they're accessing training support, we can offer paid work experience, and that's something that I really want to do. Because the other thing about hostile environment is no recourse to public funds. It used to be the situation when you've got status, you could start accessing services, accessing housing support, accessing education opportunity. That is much, much harder to do now. So people have been trapped in limbo, waiting for their status, and that doesn't end. So I think there's a real important work of the council around the services like ESOL and training and support. We recognise that if you have been in that limbo for 10 years, and then you want to return to the labour market, you need extra support, and we should be very proud that we want to do that. We have benefited from some extra resources from the Home Office that are allowing us to do that, and we'll continue to do that work. I suppose what I would like to sort of finish on is that this room is quite a friendly room to these issues. People clapped Diane's policies. I think there was a job for us to do, whether it's on healing the wounds of Brexit, whatever happens, remain boroughs like Hackney and parts of the country where these issues, you would not get a warm environment. We must make sure that we as a Labour Party, Labour movement and activists take these messages to where they still face hostility, because it's no good having fantastic meetings like this where we're rallying around this sort of activism and we can make a difference locally if we don't make a difference nationally and win those arguments. Because even if we get into government, we want these things to become embedded and not have to see a constant pendulum between left and right on these issues. And I'd just like to sort of say that I think we do need to stand together. There are really important activist organisations in this room. We won't always agree. The council has very challenging environments around the legal frameworks and funding, but I think we always have an open door to discuss these issues with us, and we want to make sure that we do more on this agenda.
is Patrick Vernon, who is a person who brought all this to a head by launching a petition around the Windrush. And I'd like you to suggest to us what we should be doing now.
Hi, good evening everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Can you see my t-shirt? So there's a lot to say. I know that all of you've got your bit to say, so I'll keep it very tight. I just want to just kind of commend the organisers of organising today's event. It's really great because I've been to quite a few debates in London and outside London, talk about hostile environment and immigration and everything, and this is a fantastic turnout which reflects that socialism is here in Hackney, so it's really fantastic. I'm a child of the Windrush, and that's probably one of the reasons why I got involved in the campaign. My parents came from Jamaica in the late 50s. Unfortunately for them, they moved to a place called Wolverhampton, where the MP at the time was Enoch Powell. And to add insult to injury, he opened my junior school when I was about 6 years old. And I was back in Wolverhampton quite recently because they did the 50th anniversary of the school. And at that time, 10 year, he made that speech, Rivers of Blood. And to me, that is a genealogy and the origins of the hostile environment. The 2014 Immigration Act just was like the icing on the cake, but his rhetoric has influenced politicians across all political parties for the last 50, 60 years. So that's one thing to bear in mind. And even this year, and on the 70th anniversary of the Windrush and the anniversary of his speech, there was a campaign in the local newspaper, along with some UKIP people, to try and have a blue plaque for Enoch Powell. But luckily, people across the left and all the MPs in Wolverhampton said no way, and the Wolverhampton Historical Society, which is the blue plaques in Wolverhampton, agreed to that as well. So there's no blue plaque for Enoch Powell, and let's not talk about Enoch Powell anymore, because that's part of the problem. And as Diane said, we've got to change the narrative around the issue around immigration and migration. So for the last decade or so, I've been involved in working with faith leaders, activists, politicians and celebrities to promote the idea of Windrush Day, to celebrate not just the Windrush generation, but celebrating the positive aspects of migration to Britain. We don't do that. We don't embrace migration in a positive way, and that is one of the reasons why we have a hostile environment. That is the reason why agencies have been involved, been co-opted to implement hostile environment as well. The other thing also to add is I've been involved in the former council in Hackney, and even though lots of councils don't do casework on immigration, you have an insight in people's lives because you make referrals to MPs or to the law centre and migrant advice centres. I was involved in quite a few cases as a council in Hackney. Then I got involved with an organisation called Sontier, run by Ruth Appleton in Camden, and I'm a patron of that. It's a charity, and they befriend basically asylum seekers and migrants. And if you think the Windrush experience is horrific, it's even worse if you're a asylum seeker, and that is part of that hostile environment, and that's another factor why I got involved, because I was involved as befriending and getting to know people from different parts of Africa, the Middle East, who were treated quite poorly, and are still treated quite poorly by our immigration system as well. So in terms of the campaign, as you know, it's well documented, and I have to say, I did my bit, but the other people did their bit as well. I think I have to recognise, I got to know Amelia Jameson through this whole campaign over the last several months. Also, there were a number of the Commonwealth heads of the Caribbean. They played their role as well. Obviously, MPs in Parliament, with Diane and David and others played their bit as well. But the key part that made a difference was you, the public. And so I'm talking to activists and to people here. I did this petition on the government website. I know you can use 38 degrees and change the law. And those petitions are important. But when it came to the issue about challenging the government's discriminatory policies against Windrush generation and Commonwealth people, I used the UK government's website. That's the website, actually it was Labour's idea to organise democracy and Tony Blair, remember. And so I use that website, and it's not as sexy as Change.org or 38 degrees, it's not clunky, but if you have 10,000 signatures on a petition, it means that the government has to give a written response. And if you have 100,000 signatures, then there's a debate in Parliament. So that's what I did. And to be quite honest, I didn't expect to have nearly 200,000 people signed it in 2.5 weeks. I didn't expect that at all, but it did. And I can explain why that happened. Because I think, to me, this is a template for activism. I think if anyone who's got a burning issue around any social policy issue, petitions do work. That's all I can say. They do work. So not just petitions at a national level, but even at a local level in terms of deputations to full council or any opportunity to exercise your democratic right. I think the Windrush campaign, which has become a call celeb, has given people the permission to say, I can do stuff as well. So if you've got burning passion, please do it. And in terms of the petition itself, there are some of the key issues are not being answered by the petition. So when I launched it in April, and why I launched it was because I got to know some of the victims of the scandal very well. Some of them I'm still in regular contact with. And there's one particular case, Walter Romeo, who came to Britain as a 4-year-old from Antigua on his mother's passport. And his mother works at NHS. He's 63 years old now. He's got children, he's got grandchildren. He lives in Edmonton, and he's even done jury service. But what was interesting about his case was he did have a British passport. His passport was stolen, and he wanted to get a new passport. Then he was told by the Home Office and the passport agency that he'd been overstayed for the last 40 years. Hello? He's been here for, so I realised this was not just simply an individual case, because at the time the government was saying, oh, these are just matters of one-off cases, people have sorted their paperwork, etc. It's all their fault basically, that's what the government was saying. And actually this was a